Hey, good morning, Trondhjem friends. I'm Pastor Sue, and welcome to this week's episode of Patio Ponderings. I'm so glad you decided to join me on this beautiful, beautiful fall day, and it finally feels like fall. The sun is shining, and the air is crisp and cool. And my patio today is the patio of someone who is part of our Trondhjem faith community, and so she has shown me great hospitality. And I am grateful to be her guest here today. And that ties in with what I want to talk about today. If you remember from last week, we are in the middle of a 3-week series on some of the themes around call and vocation. Last week we talked about the idea of being called. This week it was about purpose, being called on purpose. And next week it'll be for good. So we are called on purpose for good. So the reading we had today was the calling of 72 disciples sent out in pairs ahead of Jesus as he starts to make his way to Jerusalem. And they have a purpose to go into all the towns and villages, to offer healing, to extend the peace of God, to be the kingdom of God for the people that they encounter. Now, so often when we talk about Christianity, we've got leaves falling on me. When we talk about Christianity, we think about extending hospitality, radical hospitality, welcoming the stranger, unconditional love for the neighbor. But Jesus in this passage gives some really interesting instructions to the disciples on receiving hospitality as part of how we love our neighbor. So here's just one verse. There's several verses, but Jesus tells the disciples, whenever you enter a city and its people welcome you, eat what they set before you. And so I think this is really interesting and not something that maybe we think about very often. What does it mean to love God, to love neighbor, by being a good guest, by doing well at receiving hospitality? And so this is what I've been pondering this week, and I've come to become very uncomfortable thinking about how we have and have not done very well with this as a church, particularly in North America. So one thing that I've seen happen, it happens on both a micro level and a macro level. So on the micro level, we reach out into the community. We want to welcome people in. We want to show the love of God. But as we do that, we tend to not only bring the love of God to people, but we also bring our own cultures, traditions, and that type of thing of people, and with an expectation that people fit in with us. So we want people to look like us. We want people to learn our liturgy, our language, our traditions, and we haven't always been very good at receiving their traditions, their world experiences as that happens. Now, this has happened very commonly across different denominations, but in the ELCA in particular, in one consequence of this is that the ELCA has become the whitest church in the United States. And so that's how that's kind of played out over time. So doesn't feel like a very good place to be, that we haven't done well in that. But this has also happened on a macro level, as people from this country have become missionaries elsewhere in the world. We have not been very good guests. We have not received hospitality well. We have brought the love of Jesus. We have proclaimed the gospel and the good news, but we have also managed to proclaim our Western, mostly white culture as well, and in many ways have imposed that culture on other people rather than being a good guest and eating what is set before us, learning from them, learning how their traditions and cultures might have something to say to us. So I'm finding myself very uncomfortable this week in my thoughts and ponderings and wonderings about receiving hospitality. We want to share the love of Jesus. We want to be the kingdom of Jesus for people because there is good news in that. There's healing in that for people, restoration, renewal. There's an offering of peace in that for other people. But how do we also accept what is offered to us in return? Because what is clear in this reading that we had on Sunday is that relationship is to be mutual. What do you think? How can we do a better job of that? How can we rethink hospitality and love of neighbor to being a good guest? As always, I would love to hear what you have to say. Enjoy this beautiful fall day, and we'll see you on Sunday. Bye.